All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us all here today. Today's shiur should be Le'ilui Nishmas, our very dear friend Menachem ben Yisrael Yaakov, as well as my dear aunt Rivka Bas Gavriel Tzvi, and for Zaidi Reb Shmuel ben Yosef Dov HaKohen, and B'schus L'Refuah Shalema B'karov Mishalom ben Sarachol, Miriam Basara, and Yair Yeshia ben Chaya Atara. Today, we are on page 21 in the Ora Vigdor, for those who are following along, and today we're going to be talking about an additional benefit that Bitachon gives for an individual. And today we're going to be talking like this. So, Mehem, Shaar Habitachon be'Elokim Yivienu Haftachasai Alav Shelo Yavod Zulasai. That for the one who trusts in Hashem, his trust will bring him to resist serving any other power. When you trust only in Hashem, you don't have to worry about being ruled over by someone else. V'shelo yikava le'ish, he won't set his hopes on any man, v'lo yichel livnei adam, and he won't count on the help of a human being, v'lo yavdeim l'isratzes alehem, and he won't be subservient to them in order to win their favor, v'lo yachdef lahem, and he won't flatter them. If you have full trust in Hashem, 100%, and nobody else, you're never going to find yourself in a predicament that you feel obligated, even though you don't want to, be, kind of nice to someone in a certain way, or it says over here to flatter them, be subservient to them, because we understand that those people are powerless to make what happens to you. Only Hashem has the power to do anything that you need, right? And he won't give in to them on something that's against the service of Hashem. Meaning, so if you're not afraid of these individuals, and you're only fully trusting 100% on Hashem, what's going to happen is you're going to wind up being in a position where you're never going to be asked to do something that's against halacha. Right? If you really feel, subservient to these individuals, and they say, hey, I need you to do this, and you're like, it's not so kosher, you might still wind up doing it because you feel obligated to do so for whatever reason. Now, and he won't let the position in society, such as whether these people are wealthy or if they're up in power in governments or anything else, that they can help you, that you won't feel subservient to them because they're rich and they're famous. And he won't be afraid of antagonizing them. That means basically he won't be afraid to tell them when something they're doing is not right. But will rather throw off the finery of their favors, meaning the expression over here is to not be clothed with their favors, so therefore you have to act in a certain way. You're going to throw off the finery of their favors. I apologize. You will throw off the finery of the favors, and he won't be influenced by the benefits that he hopes to get from these individuals. And he will free himself of the burden of thanking them, and the duty of repaying them. Now, I want to make something very, very clear. Rav Av over here says he won't feel the need to thank them. We're going to speak about this again now that we're doing Shaar Habitachon again for the third time. But I want to understand thanking. When we thank someone, we thank them for their bechira, for their choice to help us. It's not to say that we shouldn't be thanking people for when they help us out. But the understanding over there is that we don't thank them so profusely, making it obvious that they're the ones that made this happen for you. That they're the ones who helped you. No, it's not that. It's Hashem that helped you, and these individuals were merely used as messengers. And so, on the thanking part, I just want to bring up something over here. So, Chovos HaLevavos is the fourth gate in the 10 gates Shaar Habitachon is the fourth gate in Chovos HaLevavos. The third gate is Shaar Avodas Elokim, is to being an Eved of Hashem, a true Eved. And in the beginning of a Shaar Avodas Elokim, he starts off in the introduction, and I want to touch on this for just a second. One of the most important things of being an Eved Hashem, a true, not only a believer in Hashem, but someone who's a servant of Hashem. And he talks about gratitude over here. And he said gratitude is something with which we should all become accustomed. Consider a child who eats breakfast each morning before going to school. When his mother gives him food, he should feel gratitude to his mother. Say thank you for this delicious food, for this breakfast. And even if he doesn't say it, he should surely feel gratitude for the breakfast. Right? When the kid gets on the bus, he should thank the bus driver for taking him to school. When he gets to school, he has a rebbe, he has a teacher who teaches him to thank them. He even has the people who maintain the building, the people who keep the building clean, to thank the person who does that, whose job is to make sure that the air conditioning is working when it's 98 degrees outside. Those people are to be thanked because those people are responsible for making sure that they have a comfortable building they can sit in and they could learn Torah. And through your life, Rav Avigdor says of it, throughout your life, you should be grateful to people who benefit you. Even if you don't learn to be grateful to people, if you don't learn to be grateful to people, you will never achieve the status of Eved Hashem. Because in order to be an Eved Hashem, you need to be able to show gratitude to Hashem. You need to be able to show and see and understand how to appreciate what God has given you and gives you every single moment of your day. And when somebody who can't even hold the door for someone, and he can't even show such gratitude or something small, that person can never acquire the opportunity to be an Eved Hashem because he doesn't even know how to provide gratitude on a worldly level, one that we could understand, let alone giving gratitude, showing gratitude towards Hashem, one that we couldn't understand as well. And therefore, gratitude, what he says over here, when we're talking about showing gratitude, that we're for someone that does something for us, it's not that we don't thank them. We do thank them. We make sure to thank people every step of the way. Anyone who helps you, anyone who gives you a job, anyone who helps you lift a couch, anyone who does anything for you, who's there for you, who's a friend for you, who listens to you, who has a kind word for you, you thank them. Because that is how you become a true Eved Hashem. And also you're thanking them for their choice to help you. Don't forget that, it's still their choice. You would get the help that you need if that's what Hashem wants you to have. But you would get it from anywhere else. And this person made the choice to help you. You came to them and they could have said no. But they said, no, I want to take on this opportunity. Now, when a person puts his trust in people, he effectively becomes a slave. That's what Rabbi Avigdor Miller says over here. So we're going back to this concept. And when you trust fully 100% in Hashem, one of the benefits is that you don't become a slave to these people. But when you do entrust in other people and you become a slave to these people, you lose your free will and he thinks as they think. What happens is, it says there's a saying that when you sit at someone's table and eat, you agree with everything they say. And it's not to say 100% that that's what happens. You know, if you find yourself in your buddy's house eating, you might not. But still, at the end of the day, what happens is you feel obligated because the person's feeding you to, agree with them, even if it means something that you wholeheartedly disagree with. You might still shake your head and nod, yes, yes, yes. But the point that he's making over here is if you're someone who's a true believer and trust in Hashem, then what's going to happen is you're going to disagree with the person and you're going to argue your point and make it a valid point and show them that how you disagree with this individual. Now, Rav Av understands, and Rabbi Avigdor Miller explains, that this level of not agreeing with individuals, especially people who are of power, who are of help to you, it's a level that is very, very difficult to attain, yet it's something that you need to keep in back of your mind. You need to constantly practice and learn the process, that it's important that when someone does something, especially something that's against halacha, to explain to them in private, go over to them nicely. There's a methodology to it. There's a concept of how to go about and tell someone how to do something, not to just, it says in the pasuk, you shall not hate your brother in your heart. You must surely criticize your neighbor and do not bear a sin because of him. Then when you go and criticize your neighbor, and meaning you're telling them, hey, you can't do that, make sure you don't commit an avera when you do that. Don't embarrass them in public. That's one of the things that you shouldn't be doing. If you want to tell something to your neighbor that they shouldn't do an avera, don't go out and yell it out loud for everyone else to hear what they're doing wrong. Go over to them nicely. And there's a process to it. And Rabbi Avigdor Miller says, because it's such a difficult world that we live in a world that's in constant, where there's negativity and there's a lot of avera that goes on. And therefore, when you do go about trying to tell someone something, There's so much working against you that it's so difficult to get this done. And so he says, not that you shouldn't, but you have to do it with finesse. And if you don't feel like you could do it with finesse and do it appropriately, then maybe you shouldn't be the one to do the rebuking, not to be the one that, tells someone, what they're doing is wrong. And not for fear, again, not for fear that he might lash out against you. That's the part that you want to have full trust and 100% in Hashem, is not for fear that you might lash out against you, but for the fear that it might come out wrong and might make the situation worse. It says over there by a Baal Tshuva, when a Baal Tshuva does something wrong, you have to be very careful on how you say it to them. Why? Because their whole family might still not be religious, and for them it's very easy to go back to that life. And so you have to be very, very careful with something like that. And everyone has different sensitivities. We have to understand that. If you're not someone who could be in tune with other sensitivities, you have to be super careful of how you tell someone something. You can't just go over to someone not knowing who they are, what their background is, and tell them something just because you feel it's wrong. You have to take these certain sensitivities in play, and you have to understand that fully before you get involved in that. I think the rest we're going to leave for tomorrow. We went a little overboard with this. Thank you, everyone, for joining us all here today. And like always, I love you all.